It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whatever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Fight TV. Hey, you want to watch all the great fights that you can't watch on your regular television provider? Don't worry about it. Visit BillyCBoxing.com and click on the Fight TV player. That's right. All of the fights that are available on Fight TV, whether they're free or pay-per-views or whatever, can be watched right on the front page of BillyCBoxing.com. So you can bring it with you with your handheld, on your computer, on your tablet, whatever. Just watch all the action on Fight TV. And speaking of Fight TV, download our free app. Just go to BillyCBoxing.com and click on the banner that says download the free app. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of it right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Find out why I'm so adamant about educating everyone on my man Tom Molyneux. A piece of boxing history, a piece of American history, a piece of black American history that you all need to know, whether you're a boxing fan or not. So get yourself a copy right now, BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com. If you want a signed copy, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. It's right there on the front page. Coming up a little bit later, we got Dax Khan joining us. And listen, today, obviously, Monday, we talk about all the fights that took place over the weekend. And Deontay Wilder crushed, he destroyed Bermane Stiverne in less than around 2 minutes and 59 seconds was when they officially waved it off. Stiverne was down not once, not twice, but 3 times. My early opinion on this, and I'm torn, because honestly, and no one has been more critical of Deontay Wilder than yours truly. And the reason is because he pounds his chest and says he's the best. And he really hasn't fought anybody to justify those statements. He didn't fight anybody to justify those statements Saturday. But I truly believe that Deontay Wilder thinks he's the best and wants to see if he's the best. I got some quotes to back that up. But I just want to say this. Deontay Wilder, in less than 3 minutes, at least... And I know what you're going to say. Stiverne was basically there for a payday. There's no question about that. But at least Deontay Wilder showed me something. And I'll tell you what he showed me. And I know 2 minutes and 59 seconds is not enough to show you anything. But what Deontay Wilder showed me is 2 things. Number one, he employed the jab, which basically was good. I mean, this is what this guy has to do in order to be competitive with the real fighters in the heavyweight division. He's got to have a jab and he's got to wait for his openings and lay the hammer down, which he did on Stiverne, which is his right hand. The other thing that I thought that he did was he was supposed to annihilate Stiverne, and he did. He took care of him quickly. I can't stand when fighters are supposed to destroy an opponent and then the opponent lingers on and on and on. And that's been the case with Deontay Wilder's opponents in the past. The Eric Molinas, the Johan Duhaupas, etc. They're supposed to be blown out of there, and they hang around and make Deontay look bad, in my opinion. He did look good. It was only for one round, less than one round, 2 minutes and 59 seconds. Joining me right now with his thoughts on the fight is my man, Sal Rocky Senicola. Your thoughts, Mr. Senicola, please.
My thoughts, I'll tell you this, Billy C. Yeah, I'll tell you, Deontay Wilder did exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to destroy and knock out his opponent, and he did. He did. Bermane Stiverne, he just destroyed. And it happened with that jab opening up, and then he crushed him with that right hand, that first right hand, smashed him right in the face. And, of course, he went down. And we all saw the fight, and he was relentless. And what we have to see or admit with this fight was the fact that, hey, he had the desire, the heart, and the wanting to be the best exhibited right in front of our eyes. He destroyed he destroyed Stiverne just as he should have. And as you pointed out, I can't help but reflect back to one of your earlier emails from last week, because when I saw his wide stance, twice the length of his shoulders, and his arms flailing from all angles, all I could think about was the comment of a drunken octopus. But let me tell you about this guy. He's dangerous, and I'm going to tell you, he is dangerous, because you don't know where these punches are going to come from. He did establish a jab, and he does have power. And with that being said, I think it's fair to say that there's going to be a showdown. We got to force a showdown between him and Anthony Joshua. What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, before we get into that,
Okay.
Wilder.
Sure, show. I forgot.
Well, no. It's all relative. What Wilder, what he did was basic 101 in boxing. I shouldn't say that. You learn it early on. It's called the 1-2, and that's what he displayed. And he did it behind a jab, which has been dormant. Hey, remember something? The last time we saw Deontay Wilder employ a jab was against Bermane Stiverne. I mean, he mentally has known that he's been put in with less than stellar opposition, and he's gone in for the kill, forgetting about, breaking a fighter down, forgetting about the jab, etc. It seems that when he is in there with what he thinks is a legitimate opponent, he fights a little differently. Now, my question has always been, how do you just flip that switch when in 39 fights you only use that technique twice, and everything else it's bombs away. Listen, he looked good against Stiverne. Now the question is this: did Stiverne lay down? I mean, did Stiverne come for the payday? Listen. Stiverne looked like a fat piece of garbage in that fight. All right?
He did. He looked like a bum. He looked like just a punching bag. And that's all. He was heavier than ever was.
15 pounds heavier than the last fight. Hadn't fought in 2 years. When they interviewed him, he was like, he couldn't even find any words. He couldn't even find any words to BS about. How great a shape he was. I told you guys a long time ago. They reached out to me to have Stiverne on this show for an interview leading up to this fight. And I said, hey, our requirements now, we like to have the guests come on. We like to put a camera on them, et cetera, et cetera. And, well, he's training in Vegas. Well, we would need him at 6 a.m. Oh, no, he's not waking up that early. Well, right off the bat, I said to myself, Sal.
I remember.
Most fighters are running by 6. Most fighters are done with their road work at 6 a.m. Or at least getting up, having their Cheerios. I mean, come on. This guy didn't want to roll out of bed, And it was indicative of what we saw on Saturday. This guy came for the payday. There's no question about it. And I'm not going to blame Deontay. Deontay fought who they put in front of him. They put a bum in front of him, just like all the other 38 fights, and he won. So I mean, it is what it is. But I giving credit where credit's due, I thought Deontay Wilder employed his jab for as long as it lasted, less than a round. He looked good, for that against this guy. I mean, at least we got to give him that, right?
Well, yeah, like I said, he does impress you with, his power. And as I said, he did open up. He did have that jab working. And, of course, I saw some head movement by Stiverne a little bit. He tried to. But
the only head, Sal, the only head movement you saw is when Deontay was smashing him in the face with a jab. That's when his head moved. That's about it.
Might have been it. But I'll tell you, Wilder, he impressed me with his power. He punches from all angles. And, I liked his comment. He said, I fight like a middleweight. I'll tell you, he did feel good about his victory, as he should have. And it's going to be, Bill, it's going to be a style that, of course, Anthony Joshua has not seen yet before in his short career. But I'll tell you what, let's give Deontay Wilder his credit where it's due. He did the job, and he got it done relatively quickly, and he was good. He was good.
Well,
did it right.
Well, he's never fought anybody like Joshua. Joshua has fought better opposition than Wilder, and quite honestly, Joshua has a win over Vladimir Klitschko, who is better than Deontay Wilder, even at 41. At the end of the fight, Deontay Wilder had some quotes. He says,
I didn't like him.
"This was a magical night tonight." Because
that's good.
Because his fairy godmother waved the pixie dust over Bermane Stiverne, and he laid down. But he says, I'm just ready to prove that I am the best. That's all I want. Of course, Stiverne, for some, wasn't the best. Some already predicted I said I was going to knock him out, and I did that. And now, over and over again, I keep sending messages out to the heavyweight division that I'm the man to beat. I am the most feared. I do hit the hardest. I am who I say I am. I don't speak. I don't just say things to say it because people have cameras in my face or people have, what I'm trying to say. I just want to prove that I'm the best. I want to know that for myself, which is interesting. Hold that thought. He says, I said I believe it. I'm receiving it. Now I want to prove it to the world. So hopefully these heavyweights in the division see what I've done and don't get too scared. I hope they want to feel the same way. I want to unify this division. The heavyweight division is too small to have so many champions. 3, 4, 3. There should be one champion, one face, one name, and that name is Deontay Wilder. Out of all of the rhetoric that came out of his mouth right then, I specifically, and I said to you, Sal, I specifically heard him say, I want to know for myself if I'm the best. I said it last week. I think that the reality, people like myself who are constantly questioning the level of opposition. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one. I mean, a lot of people. I'm sure Deontay Wilder hears it all the time, and for the first time, he's not so sure he's the best. I want to know for myself if I'm the best. You know what I give Deontay Wilder a lot of credit for? That he's willing to take the risk, Sal, and that's all you can ask from him. I sound like I don't like the guy, and it's not true. I do like the guy. My problem is don't pound your freaking chest when you beat up a slug. That's my hang-up. But wanting to know if he's truly the best and wanting to prove it and see for himself, I can't criticize that at all, Sal. Your thoughts?
No, you can't. I mean, he's willing to challenge himself, and that's what I liked about it. There is nobody else out there I want him to fight than Anthony Joshua. that will unify not only the titles, but it will be a good fight. And they can build it up. And, it's so funny because even in ringing the interview after post-fight, he was asked, well, what about the other guy that has the other belts? And he made it sound like that he's been trying to force that fight. He's been trying to get that fight, and that Anthony Joshua wasn't ready to sign for the fight. Did you hear that? Did you pick that up?
Listen. We talked about this last week. It's easy for somebody to say, oh, they don't want to fight. Well, that's because the fight was offered, and they turned it down. They're trying to get more money. So they spin it that way. You have to know the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole story.
Let me read another quote. This one is actually from Anthony Joshua, and this was Eddie Hearn, who was doing a show on the other side of the planet. Was asked about Wilder and everything else, and he this was immediately after the weigh-in, and Anthony Joshua had spoken with Eddie Hearn and wanted to know his thoughts, and bottom line is that Anthony Joshua said to Eddie Hearn, his promoter, after Eddie Hearn said, "Hey, what do you think? This is what he looks like. This is what it looks like is going to happen, etc., etc." Anthony Joshua said, and I quote, "I'll eat him. I'll eat him up." A contest between both fighters is likely, this according to Eddie Hearn, is likely to be arranged at some point next year. He said that he totally wants and has full confidence that a showdown between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder will take place. He says, "I think it'll take place, no question about it, in 2018. I was really interested in seeing how much Deontay weighed, and he thought that he weighed a little bit." He says WBO champion Joseph Parker wants a fight. And wants to fight too. Here's the reality of it. The reality of it, because of the sanctioning bodies, Sal, is that, and we're going to get to this fight here in a second, but Deontay Wilder's next mandatory opponent is Dominic Breazeale. And Anthony Joshua has already stated that in 2018, or at least through his promoter, has stated in 2018 he wants to fight Joseph Parker to get the WBO belt, and then a fight with Tyson Fury, which is a big money fight for Anthony Joshua in England. Now that's providing Tyson Fury gets his license back. Tyson Fury has a tune-up fight, but it does look likely that Anthony Joshua will fight at least one big name in England in early 2018. Deontay Wilder will fight Dominic Breazeale in early 2018. And then we'll probably see a showdown between these two guys, providing everybody wins, mid to late 2018. What do you think?
Well, and that's what I said. I think it should occur before July of 2018, and that's exactly it. I mean, they may have their one, what a hell of a card that would be if they could put both fighters. But there'll be too much negotiation. Who fights last? Who does this? Who does that? But can you imagine if they put both heavyweights on the same card against their opponents, and they build it up to that? That would be a great opportunity. That used to happen. I don't think it'll happen anymore. I don't know. I think they can do that. They can have that one fight, face their mandatories, and then, as I said, their heavyweight title fight, the moniker will be no excuses. That's it. Get these guys in the ring by mid-2018 and let them see who the better man is at the end of the fight.
Well, now let's go to the circus, or should I say, as my man Coach has been mentioning for several years now, the WWE part. I don't know if you picked it up or not. And
I think I picked it up.
I found myself, although I enjoy DVRing fights when I can, and boy, am I glad I didn't commit to a post fight on this. I would have been pissed off. Yeah. But because I was able to fast forward all the BS, I was very limited on the Ronaldo BS and all the other stuff. But what I did have to listen through, it sounded to me, I mean, how about when Jim Gray was interviewing, both fighters, but Deontay Wilder prior to the fight, and he's putting all the words in Deontay's mouth. Oh, you look like you're very upset. You look like, you've been waiting, and people constantly have to try to cheat and take performance-enhancing drugs, and it's been all of this, and you're the best, and you're this, and Deontay's like, tears are welting up in his eyes, and I'm saying to myself, what a crock of baloney this is, and they're all building it up. If that wasn't a one-sided broadcast, I mean, I get it. Showtime's in bed with Deontay Wilder and Lou DiBella and everything else, but the bottom line is at least try to show a little non-bias while you're calling a fight. And thank God that Al Bernstein, for very few times in his life, and we'll get to that in the Sean Porter fight, but very few times in his life during a broadcast does he get adamant about something. And man, he was critical about the refereeing and just the whole picture. And it was just, what did you think? Was it WWE build-up or what?
Yeah, it was, and I agree with you 100%. And I heard Al Bernstein say something, and he said, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, I got to say this," and he did, rightfully so, and he was right on the money, even with some of the referee leaning to this opponent or that opponent. It was just a farce on a sense. It did seem a little bit like that. I do love. I do love the one line, though. I do love in a post-fight interview. Did you catch that? When who was interviewing Deontay?
Jim Gray.
Jim Gray. I love when Deontay Wilder says, "You have to give props to Stiverne for what." And then Gray goes, "For what?" he just I got to give props to Stiverne for what? Well, he had the courage. It was great. I love the line. For what?
Well, when Jim Gray, now you got to understand, I hate Jim Gray, and the reason has nothing to do with boxing. It has to do it has to do what he pulled with Pete Rose years ago. But anyway, when he was interviewing Bermane Stiverne, he was trying to get Stiverne to say something. Stiverne couldn't say a word. I mean, I was saying to myself, is somebody going to give this guy a pot of coffee? I mean, is he going to stay awake? Is he going to be able to waddle out? And then for him to suggest that the reason why he was 15 pounds overweight is because he was dehydrated in the first. I got news for you. When dehydration comes back to you, when you rehydrate, it doesn't look like, you couldn't stay away from a buffet line for 6 months. I mean, this guy was fat. This guy has more. He's fatter than me.
I'd be embarrassed to get in a ring like that.
So would I. And to suggest, he's shaking his head like he wasn't hurt when he went down. What are you kidding me? That like you said, that 1-2, that 2 landed square on his face and put him on his fat ass, But
he was out on his feet after that. He no way was he going to recover from that.
Yeah, all he had to do was hold on. If the guy had any brain, you see, this is what my whole point. You can't judge these guys when they're fighting opponents that don't have a clue. And even Stiverne, who ironically enough held the title one time, didn't even know to hold. I mean, he could have survived that round. All he had to do after that second knockdown, all he had to do was hold on. You knew that Deontay was going to come charging at him, and all he had to do was hold on. Instead, he stayed the perfect distance away from Deontay, so Deontay could just destroy him. I mean, you put your head down, you grab him. You let a couple of seconds tick off. You try to get to your corner, whatever. I'm not saying anything would have been different. To tell you the truth, I'm glad he did what he did to save us from, the torture of watching any more than that. It lasted too long. To tell you the truth, it lasted too long. I was impressed to see Deontay, use his jab, but it was against literally, like you alluded to earlier, a punching bag. This guy was a punching bag. This guy, Stiverne, was literally a heavy bag in that ring. And he looked like one. The only difference is the heavy bag is in better shape.
Yeah, he could take a little more punishment.
I think so. I think so. A heavy bag can take. That's good. A heavy bag can take a lot more punishment than Bermane Stiverne. But anyway, hey Sal, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the other fights on this card. And man, I think you're going to be on the same page as me with the Porter fight. But let's hold that thought. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. You may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. And right now I'm here with my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, the other fight that I'm going to mention here is the other heavyweight fight that was on that card that we didn't get to see. I wish we did. But Dominic Brazil and Eric Molina actually fought for the mandatory position to fight the winner of Wilder Stiverne. And it was kind of a back and forth fight until and Brazil showed his chin again. I mean, this guy's got a chin. And in the end, Molina took a shot from Brazil that really rocked him in the 8th round. And then he took a knee to get his senses back. And then his corner threw in the towel, giving Dominic Brazil the TKO win. Brazil improves to 19 wins, 1 loss, and 17 of his wins coming by knockout. And Molina drops to 26-5 with 19 knockouts. Here's my thought. Dominic Brazil fought Anthony Joshua, and Joshua beat the snot out of him. I think that, if Dominic Brazil was a little faster and, had a little bit better, arsenal. His jab is a little slow. He doesn't snap it out the way he should. His punches are a little loopy and slow. But if he was just a little better, I think he destroys Wilder, to tell you the truth. And I think Wilder is going to have a hard time with Brazil because of his chin. What was your thoughts on the fight and the potential matchup between Wilder and Dominic Brazil?
I like Dominic Brazil. We've seen Dominic Brazil several times, and the guy has the heart of a lion. He takes a lot of punishment. He could take a shot, and he can keep coming back, and he could throw a heavy shot, too. I'll tell you, Bill, I'm going to make a prediction. I don't think a Dominic Brazil-Deontay Wilder fight goes past 6 rounds. I think Deontay Wilder, for the reasons that you said, if Dominic Brazil had this, if Dominic Brazil could do this, if he can't. He's limited. He's a tough contender. He's good. He's got power. He's got durability. But he doesn't have those other ifs that you would like to see him possess. So with that being said, I think if he gets in a ring within the next 4 or 5 months with Deontay Wilder, I think you're going to see Deontay Wilder destroy Dominic Brazil and hurt him.
But here's why
I think so.
He should.
Yeah.
But here's why I give Brazil a chance.
A puncher's chance. And any given night, I had to contradict myself if I didn't agree with you, and you're right.
Exactly. Not only a puncher's chance, because he definitely possesses the power. Listen, the knock on Wilder, even though it hasn't happened yet, is that he's got a suspect chin. We've seen him get rocked. We've seen him do the Billy C shuffle after 20 scotches. We've seen it, right? But we haven't seen him get stopped. And, he hasn't fought a guy with a solid chin. Brazil, except for Johan Duhaupas, Brazil does have a solid chin. What's going to happen if Deontay Wilder, and Deontay says he's got the most powerful punch in the heavyweight division, and we can only base it on what we've seen. There's my analogy again. If the best football team plays the worst football team, which in this case could be the Giants, or for 16 weeks, are they the best team? And they win all 6 times. Are they really the best team? So does he have that much punching power? Every time when people talk to me about Deontay Wilder and his punching power, and et cetera, I think of a video somebody sent me with a special person, I think, in all due respect, no disrespect to this person, but this person was trying to fight with Deontay Wilder in a gym. And they were outside of a ring, and Deontay was attacking this guy, hitting him with everything he had, and this guy wasn't even going down. And did I mention this guy weighed about 160 pounds? So what we've seen from Deontay would give the impression that he's got a powerful right hand. And I wouldn't want to get hit by it, that's for sure. But when he's in there with a guy that can absorb punches, and we all saw Dominic Brazil absorb some punches with Anthony
Joshua. Mansour and everybody, he could absorb some punches.
There's no question, Right, the Mansour fight, and the Mansour fight. Remember
he was down and out. He came back like an ever-ready batter.
Well, remember Mansour? He bit through his tongue. And his corner was all pissed that he couldn't continue, which is whatever. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see if Brazil could get past the slowness, past the that telegraph punches that he throws, and sneak one in there.
They need one.
Well, the question is going to be: is Wilder going to take him lightly?
I don't think so. I think Wilder, being the self-proclaimed best out there right now, I think he's going to take himself serious, and I think he's going to take any fight he has serious, because I think he does know in his heart of hearts that any given night something can happen, and he wants to be prepared. And he's got too much on the line at this point. And any fight he's going to be in with is going to be significant for him to prove to everybody that he is the best in his mind and in his heart of hearts, and to also keep himself on that upper tier and champion as long as he can.
Well, I think when the smoke clears, because of the sanctioning bodies, boys and girls, forget the rhetoric that we hear from Deontay Wilder saying everybody's scared of him, and forget the rhetoric from Anthony Joshua saying he'll fight him anytime he wants to clean up the division, all those things. Forget all of that. At the end of the day, the WBC has their claws into Wilder, and they just made a mandatory fight for him, and that's against Dominic Brazil. And the IBF and WBA and IBO, which does not require mandatories, have their claws in Anthony Joshua. Now, Anthony Joshua has satisfied the IBF mandatory fight with his last win because Pulov was supposed to be the guy, and he injured himself, so Carlos Takam was the next guy in line. So IBF can't complain, but the WBA can. And unfortunately for the WBA, they don't even have a regular champion crowned. So chances are we will see Wilder fight Joseph Parker and Deontay Wilder fight
No, you meant Joshua fight Parker.
Who did I say? Deontay?
Wilder
I'm
fight
sorry.
Parker.
I'm sorry. Thanks for picking that
Okay,
up.
it's easy. It's easy.
I would
Don't
have
worry
kept
about it.
going.
I do it all the time.
Anthony Joshua will fight Joseph Parker, and Deontay Wilder will fight Dominic Brazil, assuming that they both get by each other. And the other factor in this mix is what happens with Tyson Fury. If Tyson Fury should somehow fight in January or so, get a win, and look good, you could see AJ fight him to set up a Wilder fight for the end of the year. But like you suggest, summertime blues, baby. We should be able to, assuming that Wilder beats Brazil, which is not an easy fight. Let me tell you, that's not going to be an easy fight for Deontay Wilder. It may even be one of his toughest fights to date. If he fights and gets by Brazil, and Anthony Joshua fights and gets by Joseph Parker, potentially could set up a summer showdown between these two, and the world of boxing would be very happy. Now, keep in mind, Triple G and Canelo are going to be fighting in May, so we're not going to see either one of these guys fight in that month because they're not going to try to compete with Triple G Canelo rematch. It would be suicide, you know?
No, I think they should have a Valentine's Day love affair with boxing. Well, I don't know what the 14th it lands on, but if it was a Saturday night, it'd be great. But I would love to see, you heard it here first, it's not going to happen, I know that. I would love to see a card showcasing these two heavyweight fights, title defenses, with Anthony Joshua versus Parker, and Deontay Wilder versus Brazil. And then I'd love to see also, as the opener, Tyson Fury. Can you imagine that card? That'd be a hell of a card. A night of heavyweights.
Well, you know, the funny thing is I think it's great. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's great. Can you imagine that? Let's have a night of heavyweights. And
you know, Brazil already fought in England, and it would be a decent fight if Deontay was willing to go to England to fight Brazil as the co-main event to Anthony Joshua fighting Joseph Parker. I mean, oh my God, what a card that would be! And listen, make no mistake. Let's just, and I got to take a break, but let's just pass through all the BS. There's no way Anthony Joshua has to come and fight Deontay Wilder in the States. If he chooses to, that's a different story. But there's no way he has to. And quite frankly, Deontay Wilder can make a hell of a lot more money by going to England. Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, 90-seat arena, sold out, pay-per-view options. I mean, the money that these guys can make is astronomical. So it would be stupid for Deontay Wilder to even suggest. So you're right, Sal, Rocky Senecola. They should put those fights on the same card in England. Have Deontay Wilder go over and fight Brazil in England on the undercard,
Get his feet wet over the pond.
Assuming they both win, and then have the showdown, which would be great. So great idea. I vote for your voting. I vote for what you're voting for. I agree with you.
Thank you.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, the rest of the card from Brooklyn. Sean Porter. Did he look good or what? Do you think? Crazy!
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And just before we went to break, Sal and I were discussing the fights that took place from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And also on that card, Sal, was an unbeaten fighter, Sergey Lipinets, who improved to 13-0 when he scored a 12-round unanimous decision over Kiro Kondu, who drops to 29-7 with a draw. In doing so, he picked up a vacant junior welterweight title that was once held by Terrence Crawford, who has officially moved up in weight to welterweight. I watched this fight and I enjoyed it, And I look at these two guys, Kondu and Lipinets, and they seem like the same guy. I mean, they had the same fighting style, and it was kind of entertaining. And then it just was the same for the whole length of the fight. What's your thoughts on the fight and the win for Sergey?
I think it was a great fight. I thought that Sergey definitely dominated. I gave Kondu, maybe one of the maybe the fifth round, and he closed with the 8th, 9th, 10th. Maybe he won, but Lipinets I gave the 11th and 12th, and I did have the final score about 118 to 112, like some of the judges. But it was a great fight. And there were some moments there. I love the style of Lipinets. He slips, he boxes, he's in there all the time, and these guys were fighting to win, both of them. And I thought it was a great fight. And Kondu was in the fight the whole distance, the whole time, and he had some good moments.
Now, Sean Porter and Adrian Granados, they fought for the right to get the mandatory shot at Keith Thurman. And I want to start off by saying this, Sal. I'm a Sean Porter fan. I mean, I like Sean Porter. It's a great story, his father, and it's, what a relationship those two have. But, man, when I watch Sean Porter fight, it reminds me of the old cartoon Captain Caveman. I mean, this guy, all of the things that I try to think positively about Sean Porter went up in smoke on Saturday because he displayed nothing resembling boxing skill. He resembled a brawler. Now, at times, I will admit that I like to see a good brawl, but I also want to see someone that can throw a jab, that can move his head a little bit, not use his head, but move his head. Do more than what this guy does. I really believe that Sean Porter, now, first of all, his conditioning is great and all of those things, discipline, et cetera, et cetera. But this guy needs somebody else to help him fine-tune it. And you could make the argument that it's too far gone, like they were saying during the broadcast, that, even Paulie Malignaggi was saying, well, I don't know if you could teach him anything now, but it's a shame because, if he had his hands, he didn't even keep his hands up. I mean, he just looked barbaric in there. And, it was effective. He got the win. And I heard read some comments about people saying, oh, do we really want to see a rematch between Porter and Keith Thurman? We want to see Thurman fight Errol Spence. And, I kind of agree. And I'm a Sean Porter fan. I don't want to take anything away. He improved 28-2 with a draw with 17 knockouts. Adrian Granados drops to 18-6 with a couple of draws. 117-111 with the way the judges scored it. I like Adrian Granados. I'd like to see more of this guy. It's a shame that nobody wants to fight him. And this was the fight that Al Bernstein made comments about. The referee in this fight should be banned from boxing. I was noticing it in the beginning of the fight. He seemed to be going for Granados. He kept pushing Granados, pushing Porter like really hard, like giving him a couple of shots, like he was hitting his chest. Then as the fight progressed, he switched teams and he was doing it to Granados, and even Al Bernstein said, I don't want to say anything, but look, watch, let's see if he does it again. Bam, he does it again. That referees, and by the way, I don't know how the referee was even picked in the Wilder fight. Mercanti Jr. is terrible, but anyway, some of these referees, specifically in the state of New York, make it about themselves, and I don't know how they're allowed to do what they do. I mean, Steve Smoger was very adamant about showing which fighter he picked and all this stuff. I'm sorry, but I thought the referee job, although it was a tough one in a Sean Porter fight, was terrible. I think that guy should not be allowed to. You shouldn't be punching and hitting and showing favoritism towards a fighter. What was your thoughts on that? And of course, the performance by Sean Porter and Adrian Granados.
I tell you, with the referee, I agreed with Al Bernstein, of course, and I applaud him for saying what he said and not worrying about being politically correct or doing anything for the network or anything else. He said it as it was, and I agreed with him. I mean, the guy was not bullying, but I mean, he was pushing Granados. He was doing this. He was doing that. He wouldn't let him get it. It was almost like blaming him, like, "Hey, don't do this." And meanwhile, Porter's doing it. And it was a bad display of favoritism that I thought I saw. As far as the fight, I could definitely see why there's not too many people out there that would like to face Granados. The guy's tough. The guy keeps coming. The guy's in the pocket. He had a lot of good skills behind him, and he was in that fight throughout the fight. And even though it's not pretty at times, even though it's not what you would think is the sweet science, I've got to applaud Sean Porter. I mean, the guy has some limited skill, but he maximizes and enhances what he does have. His heart and his desire to win and his overwhelming and swarming style of putting on an attack to an opponent and being willing to wade through any arsenal or punches that his opponent may offer. I did see him move his head a little more than he usually does, and not from being the recipient of punches. He did try to move a little bit and get out of the way. He did slip a few punches. But you know what? He's got a style right now. It works for him. And it's a swarming, overwhelming barrage of punches. And if the first, second, or third punch doesn't hit you, you got to be careful because the fifth, sixth, or seventh may. And like I said, he's fighting. He's not a big guy in any weight division. So he's got to do something, and he's just using what God gave him. His heart, his conditioning, his mental toughness, and his swarming style. I like him. I like him. I like his style. It reminds me a little bit of what I tried to do. And I tell you what, I can't take it away from him. He comes to fight, and he does give it all, and he does not leave anything else in the ring.
No, but he needs listen, he and his pops need another guy in that corner to help.
Yeah, I can see that.
Buddy McGirt's the answer. I've said it years now.
Yeah.
Buddy McGirt's the answer because he knows how fragile a boxer trainer relationship is when it's a father son deal. So
bingo.
It's true. Another fight that took place earlier in the night from Monte Carlo, which I was there. What a cool little venue that was, and only 400 people. But WBA light heavyweight champ Dimitri Bivol improved to 12-0 with 10 knockouts when he took care of Trent Broadhurst in the first round, knocked him out in the very first round. Broadhurst drops to 20-2. Also on that card, Jamie McDonnell, who's a WBA bantamweight champ, he basically fought a rematch with Librario Solis, and unfortunately, a unintentional headbutt in the third round left Jamie McDonnell unable to continue. Therefore, the fight was considered a no contest. Also, former world champ Scott Quigg improved to 34 wins, 1 loss, and a couple of draws when he scored a sixth round stoppage over Oleg Yefimovich, who drops to 29-3. And in the heavyweight division, European heavyweight champ Ajit Kabiel improved to 17-0 with 12 knockouts when he won a 12-round majority decision over Derek Chisora, who drops to 27-8. Keep your eyes open for Kabiel. This is going to be one of those other guys we're going to see. Maybe he will eventually have a showdown with Triple D. That's Daniel Dubois at some point. So Thursday night, we didn't do a live show on Friday, but Thursday night, Juan Carlos Abreu improved to 20 wins, 3 losses, and a draw when he knocked out Jesus Soto Carras, who drops to 28-13, 1 minute and 7 seconds was the time of that in the 8th round. I said this prior to this fight. I mean, Jesus Soto Carras has been in some wars, and it's a shame that he continued. I hope this is finally the end for him. He did not look too good. But I got some emails to read. But first, let's get everybody caught up with the NFL scores.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
That's right. It's a good one for you. The Titans beat the Ravens 23-20. The Saints beat the Buccaneers 30-10. The Rams beat the living you-know-what out of the Giants. I mean, talk about Giant fans. You know, the one thing, I'm a New Yorker through and through, but I'm not a Giants or Yankees or Knicks fan. I'm from Long Island originally, and, I've always been a Jets, Mets, Nets, Islanders fan. And, the difference between Giant fans and Jet fans or Yankee fans and Met fans is the fact that Giant fans and Yankee fans are always pounding their chest similar to Deontay Wilder. But just like Boston Red Sox and New England Patriots fans, as soon as they lose a game, they want to string everybody up. And that's what everybody's saying.
Love and hate, man.
That's what everybody's saying about the Giants right now. Clean house. Get rid of what's his name? The quarterback,
Manning. Manning's been around too long. They
get
rid
of Eli. He won 2 Super Bowls for the Giants. Get rid of Eli.
But that was years ago.
Yeah, but somebody
he's
said
not the same. They got to get rid of him.
Well, he doesn't have a line. He doesn't have any receivers. The defense.
That's what he called it.
The defense can't stop a nosebleed. I mean, come on. If I wouldn't have known any better, I would have thought it was actually the Jets dressed up as the Giants on Sunday. 51-17, the Rams beat the snot out of them. Todd Gurley ran all over them. And the quarterback, second-year quarterback for the Rams, just ate them up. I mean, the Giants look pathetic. 51-17, they lose. The Eagles, the best team in football.
New quarterback.
Well, they put Geno Smith in, ex-Jet. You saw how good he did. The Eagles beat the Broncos 51-23. Eagles, arguably the best team in football. The Panthers squeaked out a win. Falcons tried to make a comeback, but the Panthers win 20-17. Jaguars over the Bengals 23-7. The Colts beat the Texans 20-14. Deshaun Watson, a freak accident, non-contact accident in practice early in the week. Tore his ACL. This kid is out for the year, and it's a shame because he was a bright spot for the Texans, and obviously they're going to miss him, losing to the Colts 20-14. The Cardinals beat the 49ers 20-10. The Redskins held on to beat the Seahawks 17-14. In a game that killed me financially, the Cowboys beat the Chiefs 28-17, and in a late game, the Raiders got by the Dolphins 27-24. In NBA action, the Hawks beat the Cavaliers 117-115. The Heat over the Clippers 104-101. The Celtics over the Magic 104-88. The Wizards beat the Raptors 107-96. The Rockets beat the Jazz 137-110. The Spurs beat the Suns 112-95. The Knicks beat the Pacers 108-101. The Timberwolves beat the Hornets 112-94. Trailblazers over the Thunder 103-99. And the Lakers topped the Grizzlies 107-102. And finally in National Hockey League, the Red Wings shut out the Oilers 4-zip. Islanders beat the Avalanche 6-4. The Canadiens beat the Blackhawks 2-0. And the Flames, those Flames, Sal.
There you go
They
again.
beat the Devils 5-4 in a shootout. We got some emails to read. Let's start off with my man Willie. He says, hey, Billy C., I bet you've been inundated with emails over the weekend regarding the fiasco of a fight that took place between Wilder and Stiverne on Saturday night. Well, I wasn't expecting that, and I'm willing to bet neither were you, or any of us for that matter. What the hell did we witness? Stiverne may as well just have laid down on the floor before Wilder threw those bombs, because he definitely didn't come to fight, did he? It must have all been planned in advance. Wilder probably paid Stiverne to put up zero resistance. I think that whole affair was set up to throw a spanner in the works of Eddie Hearn's plans. I don't think there's any reason now for Wilder to fight anyone else like White or Brazil. It's surely going to be the Joshua fight next. The online boxing fans were baying for blood. Wilder's fans have gone nuts and calling AJ a coward, saying that he's scared of Wilder, and now Wilder is demanding a fight with AJ. The plot thickens. Wilder has gained zero respect for knocking out Stiverne. What's great about beating a 40-year-old washed-up fat slob of a guy who hadn't fought for at least 2 years, and who's he beaten before? What's going on here? I'm dying to hear what you guys got to say about it. Lots of us fans are confused now, so please make sense of all this and explain WTF is happening to boxing. We talked a lot about this, Sal, and, it's funny how the fan base follow their guy, and if people are suggesting that AJ is ducking Deontay Wilder, I just see it as their only way to try and get any kind of added money to sweeten the pot. That's what it's at right now. They've offered the fight to Deontay. He's turned it down. He wants more money, more money, more money. Anything you want to add?
Well, yeah, he wants more money. Well, he knows he's not going to get more money if they fight here in the United States. He's got to go to England. And there is money to be made over in England. And I know that. I would love to see Anthony Joshua come to Brooklyn. I'd love to see him to come to Vegas. I'd love to see him come to Madison Square Garden. Any one of those venues would be dynamite for he and Deontay Wilder. But the truth of the matter is, the money can be generated on this mega fight over in the UK. And I think that's the definitive. And if Deontay Wilder wants to really play hardball and throw up any kind of opposition against negotiations, then he's going to spite himself. And, Anthony Joshua could still make a decent buck coming over here. But, Deontay Wilder is going to fall short. If this game is about business too, Deontay Wilder should look at it as a business decision, not an emotional decision. And he should go over to UK and go in the backyard and see if he could steal the heart and take him away.
There's no way that they can offer AJ more money to fight in the U.S. than he can make in the UK. AJ is going to make $20 million at least to fight whoever, and that's that. Next email, my man Mitch says, "You called it, Billy C. Deontay Wilder still hasn't made $2 million. Deontay Wilder made $1.4 million for Saturday's win over Bermane Stiverne. Stiverne got $506,000 and change. Sean Porter made $500,000. Granados made $200K. Lipinets made $75,000. Kondu made $15,000. Dominic Brazil made $250,000. Eric Molina made $90,000." And he says, and nobody, Porter, Lipinets, or Wilder, thanked Al Heyman last night. Come to think of it, did Charlo, Hurd, or Lara do it either? No, not that I can recall. And Al Heyman has lost his grip. Al Heyman and a lot of the boxing community felt that Al Heyman was saving boxing. And I loved always hearing them say, well, he's putting his $500 million into the... Al Heyman didn't open up his piggy bank to put any money in. He basically extorted money from other people, spent it like a drunken sailor. And by the way, y'all must have forgot, as that top-rated song by Roy Jones Jr., y'all must have forgot that Al Heyman was making a percentage of everything that he did anyway. So not only was he extorting money from investors, he was also making and burning a candle at both ends. Al Heyman didn't do anything to save boxing. He saved his own bank account by putting more and more money in. And look at all the disgruntled, unhappy fighters. And Mitch, you hit it on the head there. One last email. This is from Joel Sal. He says, yes. Hey, Billy C., have you enjoyed the Jets' performance Thursday night against the Bills? I went to UFC 2017 at MSG Saturday night, had an amazing time. The 3 title fights provided upsets with the challenges beating the champs. Never had I seen that before. The crowd was incredibly excited when George St. Pierre returned after being gone 4 years to choke out Michael Bisping and win the middleweight title. That's good that you had a good time. And I did think the Jets, and the way you worded it, that was their first solid performance, a full 4-quarter game. And we'll see if they can keep it up. He says, I finally got around to watching Wilder Stiverne, and it was a joke, as we all discussed. Wilder called out AJ. Now, my question to you and Sal is, Will that fight get made in 2018? I think the only way Wilder can really make a big payday is going over to the UK and fighting AJ there. What's your thoughts? We've talked about that, Sal, today a lot, and I believe that the only way that that fight won't get made is if if Deontay Wilder outprices himself. I think he should take the money that was offered. If he performs well and even wins, he's putting more and more money in the bank. There's nothing wrong with losing. Should he lose, he could demand a rematch. He could fight again and win a couple of more times, then get a rematch. I mean, to fight the fight now and to take the money, and just like Mitch said earlier, the guy has not made $2 million yet. He was offered $4 or $7 million for the fight plus the U.S. TV rights, and played correctly, he could pull in another couple of million there. I'm sorry. It would be stupid. If anybody is advising, Deontay Wilder to hold out, they're leading this kid in the wrong way. What's your thoughts?
I believe you 100%. And the bottom line is, hey, you want to entice him? You want to guarantee it? Give him $10 million. Don't give him the rights. Just say we're going to pay you $10 million. Let the rights be going towards the pool to feed. Give Joshua $20 million. Give Wilder $10 million. Bring them over here and let the promoters allocate the monies from their revenue generated from the pay-per-view and from the live gate. And that's it. The other idea would be, like I said, get Deontay Wilder a little bit of exposure in the UK. They should have him come over and fight Brazil and do it right on the undercard of Anthony Joshua fighting Parker. I mean, that would be a layup. That would be great. Just come over here, see what it's like, get your feet wet. You don't want to have we want to give you a preview of what it's going to be like, and I think it would be great.
Well,
but definitely,
I still like your idea. It would be great to see Deontay Wilder fight Dominic Breazeale as the co-main event in England on the card that would feature AJ and Joseph Parker, with the two winners facing each other down the road. That's the fight. I give Deontay credit. He only fought for 2 minutes and 59 seconds, but he did what he was supposed to do. He took care of a fat slob, piece of garbage fighter in a quick amount of time. Didn't pussyfoot around, didn't try to linger, didn't try to put in rounds, took care of this guy the way he should have. Stiverne deserved to be in no ring, let alone a ring with Deontay Wilder. I applaud Deontay for making quick work of him. And I also applaud what looked like him using his jab again, which is something that I hadn't seen in a while. But when it's all said and done, yes, the fight we all want to see, Deontay Wilder go up against AJ, and neither one of these guys are ducking each other. It's the other people involved that are putting cogs in the wheel, I think. And
I believe that.
Yeah. I think, listen, I read the comments from Deontay Wilder, and I truly believe that what he says is true. He says, I want to know for myself if I'm the best. And to me, that's the most true statement that has ever come out of his mouth, and I respect him for it. And you know what? If this kid, and because of it, if this kid turns around and wins and beats AJ, then he is the best. We can't argue that point. I mean, it is what it is. You let your fist do the talking, right, Sal?
You're 100% right, and I agree with you. And I think that's the way it should go. And I still can't get over. I love Jim Gray's comment. I'm reading it here because I wrote it down. Again, I'll say it. I know it's redundant, but I love when Deontay Wilder in the interview post-fight again said, "Give props to Stiverne." And Gray says, "For what?" I love that. That's great because he just was a overweight puff bag of an opponent. And Deontay Wilder, as we said, did what he had to do. He was going to stink up the ring if it went past 2 or 3 rounds. So he did what he had to do, get him out of there as soon as possible. And thank you. Congratulations, Deontay Wilder.
You know, Showtime was pathetic with the broadcast, with their announcing team. I mean, Ronaldo, we all know that he's a piece of garbage, and I wish like the cartoons, I wish he would walk out of a building and a big safe would fall on his head. But then again, his head is so big that maybe the safe wouldn't even hurt him. But the truth of the matter is they're pathetic. Totally biased. They've become the promoter of these fighters, and it's disheartening to watch. Thank God Al Bernstein very rarely went after the right things that he should have because it was a joke, and it's sad for boxing when it happens. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Dax Khan is scheduled to join us, and we'll get his thoughts on the Deontay Wilder annihilation of Bermane Stiverne and the Dimitri Bivol annihilation of Trent Broadhurst. All coming up in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
And it was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And so far all morning long, we've been talking mostly about Deontay Wilder's win over a big sack of potatoes known as Bermane Stiverne. And joining us right now to give us his thoughts is Dax Khan. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning, Billy C. Thank you for being with me.
You're welcome. What was your thoughts on 2 minutes and 59 seconds of all-out action?
What is there to say? Supposedly Stiverne wanted the fight. For 2 years, he claimed all these things about the first fight. It was an injury. Any other excuse that came to mind. The Luis Ortiz fight falls through because of that failed test. So Stiverne gets his opportunity, comes in at 254 pounds. He makes these excuses about the weight, starving himself in the past. I was only 247 pounds in my hotel room, so I ate, and that's why I was 254. At no point in time did he sound convincing. I mean, he's like rolling his eyes, and he's like, I hope they're believing this, because, he's not even believing what he's saying. He didn't give an effort. It was over 90 seconds before he even threw a punch. He goes down hard in that corner. He didn't even give any concern. Like me and Sal were talking, when somebody goes down that hard in a corner, the first thing you want to do as a fighter is you look at the ref. You're trying to convince the ref, yeah, I'm okay, I can go on, because, this is a championship fight. He didn't even bother. He had no head movement. After the second knockdown, it didn't matter. Sal was saying he didn't hear what Stiverne said. I said, the referee asked, were you okay? And Stiverne said, as soon as I get to the bank and cash a check, and then that was it. He went down, and, that was the end of it. Wilder, you want to credit him for the performance, but unfortunately I can't, only because, he just went in there and just hit a guy that there was nothing coming back at him. Wilder did his job, so you have to credit him for that much, but in terms of what we learned and what we've seen from that fight, there was nothing, there's nothing really to talk about except for the lack of effort by Bermane Stiverne. And in my opinion, I said on social media during the fight, and I said to Sal, they should withhold his purse. He gave no effort.
Yeah, I thought he did look, after the first knockdown, he did look up at the ref and shake his head like it didn't hurt him, it didn't bother him, but it was like Sal and I discussed earlier, I mean, it was a classic 1-2. He led with the jab and came back and smashed his face with the right hand and put him on his ass. I mean, there's no other way around it. And I found it funny that he said that the reason why he was 15 pounds lighter in the first fight is because he was dehydrated, and that this extra 15 pounds was just fluids and stuff. It looked like donuts to me, man. He looked like a fat bastard.
Yeah, it was fluids, all right. I mean, but if you remember, this basic 1-2, that's how Deontay Wilder actually won the title. When you watch our first fight, that's all it was. All night was a basic 1-2. Bermane Stiverne has no angles to him. It just really shows exactly how shot Chris Arreola was in their fights.
Yeah, well, Chris Arreola clearly was shot, and it's a shame. I mean, he was a warrior and then looked for a couple of paydays. But at the end of the day, what I saw in this fight from a positive note for Deontay Wilder was, I liked that he did start out using his jab, which gave me, or at least in my mind, gave the indication that he was taking the fight seriously, because in all the other fights, except for his other fight with Stiverne, he just wanted to come out and blow them away. So he did display some kind of a game plan. And the other thing I liked was that he took care of this bum quickly. I mean, if it would have dragged on, we would have been talking about he should have taken him out. This guy did nothing. And he took care of business quickly like he should have. And I also agree with you. I mean, Stiverne couldn't even come up with any verbiage when they were asking him questions. I mean,
you know where you
are.
It
was a joke. No, not the ref. He goes, oh yeah, that's right. I'm in New York. Yeah, no. I'm talking about in the pre-fight stuff. When he should have been talking smack, he couldn't even come up with any words to say.
Unbelievable.
And what about Wilder in his post-fight? Back to what you were saying, Bill. Yes, Wilder, he's definitely evolving slowly in front of us, and I think he's trying to silence these critics. And he has a tremendous jab when he uses it, and he works behind it. And he's one of those guys that actually, because of his long reach and his power, he can beat a lot of guys just using that 1-2 and his footwork because he's mobile. But as for his post-fight interview, I thought I was watching Happy Gilmore with his rhymes. It was almost like I'm saying, is this Shooter McGavin? He's like, AJ, listen what I say. You don't want to fight me any day. I'm waiting. I'm like, what is this here?
I know.
He was better than Bermane Stiverne's rapper, though.
No, yeah. Hey, I will tell you this. The one thing, and Sal and I discussed this earlier, but the one thing I do respect about Deontay is I think it wasn't BS that when he said, and I quote, I just want to prove I'm the best. I want to know for myself if I'm the best. To me, it seems like Deontay Wilder, Dax, has reached a plateau where he's starting to realize, well, wait a minute. Maybe what some of these guys say is true. Maybe I've been, pumped with a lot of BS, and maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. Maybe these guys that I'm fighting aren't good. Now he seems like he really legitimately wants to prove to himself, not only to naysayers like me, but to himself that he's the best and wants to see it. I respect him for that. What's your thoughts?
Well, of course, a lot of we speak about this all the time. These days, a lot of guys are more about the money than the glory. I think Deontay Wilder, like a lot of other guys in that PBC stable, they felt that this was the right way to go. With Lou DiBella promoting most of the cards that he's been on, he felt, okay, I'm in the right area. Now all of a sudden he's seeing everything around him. He's seeing these other big fights. He's seeing the money these guys are making. Now he's saying to himself, not only, am I not making the money that they are, but I thought I was going to come out here and I was going to get the stage that they're doing, and I'm really not getting any more exposure or doing anything better than these guys on my undercards. Where's my opportunity? I'm working hard. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm trying to entertain the fans. Deontay really isn't this brash and bold guy that, he always tries to come out with lately. If you see, that's more or less been more incorporated into his recent, last 3 or 4 fights, trying to entertain these fans. Now he just wants that fight, and he wants to be able to sit there and say, I am the best for himself. After a while, you got to say to yourself, you know what, everybody else is making money around me. Everybody else is making more money than I am off of me. You know what, now this is my time because I'm the one taking these punches. And I think that's what's going on in Deontay Wilder's head. And good for him. Danny Jacobs did the same thing.
Yeah,
good point.
That is a good point. Dimitri Bivol, you're high on Bivol. What'd you think in that fight?
But how do you not? How do you not love that fight? I mean, Bivol, he's a guy. He goes out there, and the only thing really in that fight was that aura of a mystery with Trent Broadhurst. You have to remember, over this last year or so, matter of fact, ever since Lucas Brown beat Ruslan Shigaya for that WBA heavyweight belt, these Australian fighters have been playing this role of spoiler and then playing this role well. In July, Jeff Horn upset Manny Pacquiao. Damian Hooper, whose resume very similar to Trent Broadhurst, not only in the terms of wins and losses, but also in the quality of opponent. He upsets Umar Salamov, who was considered to be in the mix of prospects with a Bivol and Vodzik. So it was kind of a, can we see this type of upset again? Even though on paper, wasn't likely. They go in there. The only common opponent was Berridge, who Broadhurst lost to in 2011. He won 12 fights since. Bivol stopped him earlier this year in 4 rounds. But we didn't get to see much. Bivol came out. He was very composed. He does have better defense than people give him credit for. It's a subtle defense. He moves his head. He kind of rolls the punches. But that power, the way that punch just broke right through the guard of Broadhurst, who actually came out towards Bivol. You would think that a guy like Bivol, with somebody coming straight towards him, he might have felt a little uncomfortable. But the expression on his face never changed. I'm telling you, in my opinion, this guy is probably the one to watch more than Beterbiev, and I think more than Vodzik. I think Dimitri Bivol is the guy to watch in this division. And what I really love at the end were his comments when they asked him, where do you think you stand in the light heavyweight division? He says, everybody's supposed to believe that they're the best, but I want to be considered the pound for pound best. He's not looking just to dominate a division. He wants to actually be the best. That kind of goes with like what you were saying, you liked about what Deontay Wilder was saying. Bivol has higher aspirations than just claiming a division.
True. True. I mean, the bottom line is the best have to fight the best. Don't you agree?
Well, he is willing. Remember something now, this guy, he was supposed to, after he won that title, he was supposed to fight Cleverly. The WBA made an exception for Nathan Cleverly to fight Badu Jack. So Badu Jack, we all know, goes out there, he blows out Nathan Cleverly, he wins the title. WBA mandates purse negotiations for Bivol against Badu Jack. For whatever reasons, Badu Jack decides to vacate that title, and that's how Dimitri Bivol got elevated to regular champion status. So it's not like this kid doesn't want to fight the best, and that's not saying that anybody is ducking him. It's just early in his career right now. But, the kid does want to fight the best, and as long as he gets the opportunities, I believe he's going to be the guy that shines in this division.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's young enough. He looks like he should be in high school, man. He has
a tremendous amateur background.
No, I know. But the thing is I'd like to see him fight in a longer fight. Like I was saying in the chat room, his last several fights haven't really gone. I mean, he did go to distance a couple of times, but I'd like to see him in there against one of the top fighters. And have him. I want to see him break down an opponent. I think that what's lacking in the sport of boxing today is fighters' ability to go in there and break down an opponent and then win the fight. In other words, what we do see is a lot of overmatched fights where we have a showcase fight, if you will, where one guy is the A side and he goes in there and annihilates the B side and then pounds his chest. I want to see good old-fashioned, let's break down a fighter. Let's see a 50-50 fight. Let's see who's better at breaking down his opponent and winning the fight in the later rounds. That's, by stoppage. That's what I'd like to see from Bivol.
We're going to see that eventually, and you know what? When that usually happens, when guys get put into that situation, that's really where we find out who shines. Because a lot of these guys that do get these early knockouts, when they get put into that situation, we find out that they weren't prepared for it. Sergey Kovalev, I believe, is a perfect example of that. But Bivol, what they did ask him, they said, "Would you have liked to have gone more rounds?" He just kind of shrugged his shoulders and he said, I know fans like knockouts, whether first round or 11th round. They hope they're happy they got a knockout. Short story, but fact, in April and June of this year, Bivol stopped Samuel Clarkson and Cedric Agnew in back-to-back fights, and they were sensational stoppages. In February 2015, down in Port Chester, the day you called me up telling me about Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather had signed their fight, and I go down there, and Samuel Clarkson and Cedric Agnew fought each other. At no point in time when I'm on the ring apron and we're talking amongst each other, which of these two guys are going to succeed, could we ever have came up and said, what, I guarantee they both get knocked out by the same guy in the same year.
Well, there you have it. Listen, I think that it's great to have these fighters coming up now that are willing to fight each other, and that's what we still need. We still need that. We need it, across the board, really.
We do need that, and it's we're starting to see more of these fighters being vocal. They want it. Now it's up to the promoters and the networks and sanctioning bodies to make sure it happens.
One last question I want to ask you has nothing to do with the fights over the weekend, Dax. It has to do with Jesus Soto Karass from Thursday night. We've seen this guy in some wars over the years, and sometimes he looks really good and sometimes he looks really bad. In his previous fight, prior to the one last Thursday, I thought that it was over for him. I really didn't think that he should be fighting anymore. And when they announced his fight, I was a little skeptical. And the way they announced it almost seemed like they were trying to get him a W, and he goes ahead and gets knocked out, looked very bad, sluggish, took way too many shots, and now his opinion is, he doesn't know what he's going to do now. And that kind of made me think that, he doesn't have anything else. That's why, he knows boxing, and that's why he's staying in it, pushing the envelope a little too long. What's your thoughts? I mean, somebody that cares about this guy has to tell him it's over.
You got to love Karras because, he is just exactly that. He's a warrior. Boxing needs warriors. Not everybody's going to be an elite and a world champion. He's always been a guy who's been vocal and, accepts that fact. But, you're right. This is what I do. He has nothing to fall back on. That's another thing where I have always spoken about. That's the difference with a lot of this era. A lot of these guys have something to fall back on because boxing is a young man's sport. It's a shame, though, to see a guy go out like that who's been such a warrior. And I do agree. Hopefully somebody says, you know what? This is what, it's time for yourself. But, when you don't have anything else to fall back on and you do have a family to feed, it's like, what are you going to do? And unfortunately, that's the position that Jesus Soto Karras is in. Maybe, if with any luck, he can get into training and get into something else. But, considering he does have a family and considering the punishment he's taken over the years, not just in this fight, that's the type of punishment that affects you 2, 3, and 4 years down the road after you retire from the ring. So, right now, Jesus Soto Karras, not only for his sake, but his family's sake, needs to say, you know what, enough is enough. I have to find something else to do. Boxing, unfortunately, doesn't look out for their warriors when their time is over in the ring. And that's one of the things about this sport I've always disliked.
Yeah, it's a shame, and I think you hit it right on the head. I would love to see a guy like Jesus Soto Karras get into the sport in another fashion, training, promoting, something like that, to keep him involved in it and just keep him out of harm's way. He has shown the signs of a guy that's going to not be in great shape in a few years from now. And his style of fighting, I mean, he's a warrior, and he's been in tough fights. If anybody doesn't believe it, all they got to do is look at his resume. I mean, it speaks for itself. But any final thoughts, Dax?
Oh, yeah, the two final thoughts. I was, as far as the Sean Porter fight, you guys pretty much said everything I was going to say. Sean Porter, I can care less if I ever seen him again. I like the kid, but you know what? He's regressed as a fighter. As for referee Gary Rosado, he was shameful. Adrian Granados, unfortunately, he was exactly right in his post-fight comments where he said, you know what, I got to knock these guys out. Prior to tonight, he's only lost by majority decision or split decision. He's never actually been dominated, and he's created a lot of upsets. That's why these guys don't want to put him in against anybody. Sean Porter has better ability to fight than what he did this weekend, but I actually don't believe that with the team he has behind him, anything is going to get any better. And the last thing I have to say, personally, is, a couple years ago, Pritchard Colon and Terrell Williams fought, and after that, Pritchard Colon ended up in a coma, and even though he's gotten a little bit better, he's not fully well now. He's never going to be able to function on his own. In that fight, Terrell Williams fouled him more than 24 times. I broke that fight down on this show on October 17th or the 22nd, exactly round by round. And not only that, but previous fights for Terrell Williams and the incompetent referee Joseph Cooper. This is boxing. Things happen, but, the history of Terrell Williams and the fact he's done that so many times is shameful. He apologized. He said in interviews he doesn't know he's ever going to be the same again. He wishes it never happened. But, he never actually came out and went out of his way to do anything for Pritchard Colon, whether or not it's a GoFundMe page or anything like that. Now, 2 years later, Terrell Williams is scheduled to fight. He's going to fight November 16th at the Cosmopolitan on the undercard of a Mayweather and TGB promoted card. That's a card headlined by Julian Williams and Ishe Smith. There's a lot of fighters on the card I like, but you know what? We're always complaining in this sport about guys on peds, guys not making weight and everything like that. You know what? When we got guys out there that blatantly cheat like that and we have incompetent referees, we need as fans and we need as the media to step out and tell these promoters and tell these venues, if you put this guy on this card, we're not going to buy these tickets and we're not going to attend. So, everybody out there, they need to sit there, take to your social media accounts and tell the Cosmopolitan, tell Bounce TV, tell Mayweather Promotions, tell TGB, you know what? You put this guy on this card, we don't want to, we're not going to buy these tickets. Take control of this. There's no reason why a guy like that should get a payday, especially on a card like that promoted by promoters of that level after a 2-year layoff when he's nothing but a cheater.
Good point. And how is Colon doing?
He's doing better, he's up, he can walk, he can't walk, but, he can do minor things, whether or not it's physical therapy, touch things, people talk to him, he's responsive, but he can't have a conversation, more or less, it's pretty much like a Gerald McClellan type situation where he's never going to be able to function on his own as a young man, and that was because, maybe not just because of that fight. We know in boxing that only takes one punch, even though you walk into that ring, you're great, and you just get tapped. It could be previous damage footage that was there, but over 24 times this guy hit Richard Colon behind the head. And not only did he do that, but he actually looked at the spot he was going to hit him, and then he would hit him afterwards. It's not like they were by accident, you know, when you break that down on video. And Terrell Williams did that many times, and then you're going to come out and say, I'm sorry. You're not sorry. You're a dirty fighter. You enjoyed what you did. You didn't care. You don't deserve to have a payday. I won't do anything. I don't care who's on that card. I wouldn't pay for it. I wouldn't go see any fighter on that card. Is that punishing the other fighters? I don't know. I don't care. What tells me is that, you know, the promoters and the networks and the venues, they don't care about the fighters, like we were talking about with Jesus Soto Carras. You know something? You're going to put a guy in there like that, even as to feed somebody else to, just don't. You know, that's the problem with the sport, and that, you know, fans need to take control of the sport and tell these promoters what they do want. We tell them what fights we want. We need to tell them who we don't want in that ring.
Good point. Dax, we'll look forward to you next time, my man.
All right, everybody, enjoy your day.
Take care, Dax.
You know, Sal, you know, Dax is talking about refs and you know, I'll add judges to the mix. You know, this has been one of the problems with the sport. I mean, we don't police.
But it's always been.
Right. Well, we don't police the referees and judges. You know, Gary Rosado and his refereeing the Porter Granados fight the other day, and you know, I've mentioned Steve Smoger is like that. Joe Cortez, who's actually a Hall of Famer who trains new referees, almost got several fighters killed because of his ineptness. You know, the judges are always under scrutiny. I mean, this is the problem with the sport. You know, I do understand where Dax is coming from, but at the end of the day, you know, boxing is risky, and fighters know the risk when they are getting their gloves laced up for the first time. I mean, it's something that is one of these sports we can cry for safety as much as we want, just like they're trying to do it in football in the NFL. But at the end of the day, it's a risky sport. And, you know, the combatants that choose, nobody's being forced into it, that choose to be involved in these types of sports, specifically boxing, have to know what the repercussions are. And, you know, to suggest that, you know, some of the ideas, they wear headgear, they're not allowed to hit in the head, and in football they do away with kickoffs, you can't tackle, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go after a quarterback. I mean, it's ruining the sports. They should either ban them altogether, and who's making the decisions? At the end of the day, don't the athletes, aren't they the ones that make the final decision? And yeah, they're all going to change their tune when they are hurt or can't perform normally anymore, and then they're going to blame it on the same sport that they chose to be in. It's a really gray area, Sal.
It is. But what you said, Bill, is very powerful. You know, I'll tell you, it's we know the inherent risks. What we do, we're adults. If you're 18 or 21, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I was told by my father and by people, you want a career in boxing? There's some inherent risks. I've had over 250 stitches. I've had 10 perforated eardrums here, 8 there, separated retinas. I knew this was all part of the game, part of the territory. And I decided, after a doctor talked to me in 1986, and he said, maybe give it 2 more years and get out by the time you're 28. He told me why. And I did. I walked away. I didn't want to, but I did walk away. And I thank God every day for that doctor and those words. And I'll tell you what, had I gone also with my continued style, I remember Lou Duva made a comment after, you know, because I was with the Duvas early on, and then I went to Ali Stoltz, Johnny Torres, a couple different trainers after Giacchetti, and Don Turner. And Duvas made a comment and said, oh, yeah, they ruined Sal. Because I learned a little bit more boxing. I wasn't just going in like a Sean Porter all the time. But because I wanted to see and wanted to change a little bit. I didn't want to eat every punch that was thrown at me. But that's neither here nor there. The game of football, the game of hockey, the game of any contact sport, the athletes do know the inherent risks that do happen. And you know what? It's like I said. The prize at that young age is worth the price. And when you're older and you're able to look at things differently, maybe that prize you got to assess, is it still worth the price? You made a great stance, and I think it's something that they should consider. Before any contact sport, let there be on file a personal file that only physicians can access of a fighter, football player, hockey player, soccer player, any contact sport. Let them get an MRI of their brain and let them see where it is. And then on a yearly basis, when they have to get their new license for whatever they do, or after a big concussion or after a knockout, maybe they should see and compare. Where does it look? What is it looking like now compared to what it started as? I think that's a fair assessment, and I think a doctor or a manager should be responsible to sit down with their fighter or their soccer player, their hockey player, their football player. There should be somebody to sit down and say, hey, look, this is where you were. This is where you are. This is what can happen. And you know what? Let the athlete decide. I don't want to see pillows for boxing gloves, 25 ounces, 30 ounces. I don't want to see headgears. I don't want to see no tackles. You know, it changes the sport. But if you're careful, if you have some preventive measures, the guys are accountable. They could take their due diligence and they can make their own decisions based on what I said earlier. Is the prize worth the price? That's it.
Yeah, you know, and you make a good point. When you're younger, the prize is worth the price. Easy.
Yeah,
it's an easy decision. Easy decision. And as you age, and this is why a lot of these guys will all of a sudden start pointing fingers. Well, now I can't do it because of the NFL, or now I can't function right because I was in all these fights. But if you ask them at a young age, is the prize worth the price? The answer is yeah. But by having the head scan and the way you put it, yes, I've said that should be required.
Brilliant.
You know,
I think it's great.
And the thing is like you said, you know, after a hard fight, a concussion in sports, or even a knockdown in boxing, where you have a specialist looking at the comparison of the head scans. Here's the one you took when you turned pro. Here's the one that we took after the knockout. Look at the difference. You see this area here? Well, this could be this. This could be that. Now, what do you think? You know, and then that individual would make their own decision. Is the price still worth the price? You know, great point. But one thing I want to add real quick is a lot of things surround Rocky Marciano's 49-0 record. And one of the issues that Floyd Mayweather successfully basically tarnished, in my opinion, was making it seem like nobody else had gotten to 49-0 successfully. Floyd got to 49-0 and surpassed it, even though his fight against Conor McGregor
farce.
Yeah, okay, but whatever. It's neither here nor there. So theoretically, Floyd has a 50th win. Now, there's been many fighters who have surpassed 50 wins without losing. The significance here was losing, retiring with 49-0, retiring as Floyd Mayweather has done now at 50-0. The truth of the matter is that it was only significant in the heavyweight division. No heavyweight ever made it to 49-0. Other divisions, we've seen many fighters. The first one that pops in my head is Julio Cesar Chavez, made it to over 80 fights before losing his first one. You know, so the significance was heavyweight. But once again, you know, Floyd Mayweather was able to manipulate and smokescreen the fans to believing that he did something outrageously special. Well, on November 25th, the current WBC World Minimumweight Champion, Wang Hang Maothin, will be fighting for his 49th win. He currently is 48-0, and he's looking to tie that Marciano 49-0 fight against another fighter who's not a world beater, but he certainly has had pro fights. He's had, it looks like, 30 fights or so. You know, so, the point I'm making is that don't always believe all of the hoopla. Maothin is most likely going to surpass 50 wins, and he'll maybe get to 60. Who knows? With that division, not only are the fights hard, but you know, a lot of times you're fighting guys that don't look that impressive on paper. I just wanted to give this WBC minimum weight champion Wang Hang Maothin credit. He's currently 48-0, and on November 25th, he's vying for 49-0, one fight behind Floyd's 50-0 in a whole topic that really doesn't have anything to do with any division other than heavyweights. Our trivia question has been getting a lot of fun responses from people.
I bet.
And they've been giving me all kinds of answers, and I got this long-winded answer from my man Willie and his deduction and how he got to it, and he was wrong. Coach, trying to do it from memory, has sent me countless emails, and he's wrong. We got many other emails from other listeners, and the reason why I mentioned Willie and Coach is because I see them interact on a regular basis in the chat room, so you know, I know those guys from just looking at the emails, and I want to thank everybody for attempting to get this question right with their emails. So I'm going to read it one more time, because guess what? Nobody's gotten it right yet. The question, if you get it correctly, if you answer it correctly, and you're the first one to get it correctly, by emailing me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, which is a simulation game. It's a great game. It's the same one Alex uses for our Blast from the Past. And this one's a tough question. The question is, who did Jack Dempsey say was the greatest fighter of his weight and height he ever saw? Who did Jack Dempsey say was the greatest fighter of his height and weight that he ever saw, meaning Jack Dempsey? I'm going to give you guys a hint, all right? It was not a heavyweight. It was not a heavyweight. Look in the lower weight classes and look prior to 1970. Prior to, now that could be a little prior or a lot prior. So which fighter who's not a heavyweight and was, you know, fighting prior to 1970 did Jack Dempsey say was the greatest fighter of his weight and height that he ever saw? If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win the Title Bout Championship computer game. On this day, November 6th, in boxing history, in 1995, Daniel Zaragoza wins a 12-round decision over Hector Acirio Sanchez to regain the WBC junior featherweight title, and that took place in Inglewood, California on this day in 1995. On this day in 1957, Alphonse Halami wins a 15-round decision over Paul Macias to win the NBA and retain his world bantamweight title, and that took place in Los Angeles, California on this day in 1957. On this day in 1982, Alicio Mercedes wins a 15-round decision over Freddie Castillo to win the WBC flyweight title, and that took place in California. On this day in 1993, Evander Holyfield wins a 12-round decision over Riddick Bowe to regain the WBA and IBF World Heavyweight titles in Las Vegas. On this day in 1981, I loved this fight, by the way. On this day in 1981, Larry Holmes knocks out Ronaldo Snipes in the 11th round to retain his WBC World Heavyweight title, and that took place in Pittsfield, Pennsylvania. Holmes, who got dropped in the 7th round, was responsible for issuing Ronaldo Snipes his first loss, dropping his record to 22-1. Holmes, on the other hand, improved to 39-0. On this day, November 6th, in 1918, Jack Dempsey knocks out Battling Levinsky in the 3rd round to improve to 44 wins, 4 losses, and 9 draws in their heavyweight bout that took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Levinsky drops to 37 wins and 7 losses with 10 draws. Dempsey weighed 185 pounds for this fight. And that concludes what took place on this day in boxing history. Sal, we are looking forward to another busy show tomorrow and Wednesday. We are off on Thursday, but we're scheduled to be back on Friday. So I hope everybody, hey, don't forget, if you take the time to drop me an email, we'll take the time to read it. So just email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. This concludes our show for today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.